All right, so today we're going to see how we can handle errors on a n8n workflow. If some node fails somehow, how we can be aware of that, right? How we can be notified about that thing. That is very important because if the workflow fails, we are not going to receive, at least in this case here, we're not going to receive any notification, or you will receive the notifications or the message in parts, not everything, and then you need, oh, what's going on? I need to access n8n and check, see the logs, see the executions here to debug what went wrong and how we can fix that, right? So today we're going to use the concept of the error workflow. So there is an option here on n8n where we can set the error workflow. Whenever your workflow throws an error, it will trigger the error workflow, and that we can do something else, right? To at least be notified when something was wrong, right? So let's see the today's dog. Okay, we have this beautiful dog here, good boy. We have the message, the news from today. You can see we have 5 news, although we are limiting 3 word news and 3 personal tech news. We are receiving just 2 personal tech news because we don't have much personal tech news in that. We can fix that in the RAS processor, but that's not the focus for today. All right. So there are 2 ways basically to handle n8n errors, right? You can go node by node. For instance, see this HTTP request node here. Let's make it bigger. And we have this retry approach, retry on fail, and then we have the error here, the error branch, the error output. In this error output, we can handle this somehow, right? We can send a notification, we can send an email, we can send a Slack message whenever this node here fails to retrieve itself from an error, right? But in that situation, we need to do that for every node that we want to handle the error. We need to open the node, retry on fail, or no, don't retry on fail, and then change this option here to continue using the error output, and eventually put another node in this branch here to handle that error, right? What we are going to do today, it's going here on the top right corner and settings, and here we have the error workflow, right? I have already tested something here. I put here from test, but we are going to create a new one. So here I have the error workflow, and I can select one of the workflows that I have to be triggered whenever the main workflow throws an error, right? So let's create that workflow. I will create a new workflow for that, and let's see how it's gonna be. So let's go here, workflow. Let's give it a good name. Handle workflows errors, right? And here we need to add a special trigger for this guy here, which is called error trigger, right? So this node will trigger when there is an error in another workflow, as long as that workflow is set up to do so, right? So basically it will trigger here, run workflow here, whenever one workflow that is properly configured, this workflow as the error workflow, will trigger this guy. So what we want the error trigger, and we want to send a Slack message. Let me copy the Slack message, the Telegram node from the previous workflow. Let me do that. So let's copy send photo. Let's copy this one, paste it here, put it here, right? Let's change the name, send error notification. It's gonna send to the same Telegram group. I will just create a new message, but before, how we can test this workflow? We cannot activate, right? We don't need to activate this workflow because it will start automatically whenever other workflow triggers an error or throws an error. right? We can just click here and fetch test event, right? So it will show you how the error will arrive in this workflow, right? So now we have some things here to start creating our message. I will paste here the message that I have already created. All right, so I just copy here the message I have created. So it's gonna be in the Markdown v2. And if I expand that, we can see I have the error in the workflow text. And then I have the workflow name, right? That comes from here, workflow name, the workflow that triggered the error. I have the error message here. I have the stack, right? And then I have the node with error, which is the last node executed. And I also put the execution URL link where I can just click and go straight to the workflow execution that has failed, right? So this is how it's gonna be. If I test it right now, we would see how we receive that information on Telegram. Let's see. Okay, so here's the information. Error in the workflow, example workflow, error, and then I have the error title and the stack and the node with error and the execution link here, right? This is just a sample, an example how it would be. And how can we, let's save that. How can we test that? We cannot test that just running manually, right? If we go to the n8n documentation, you will see some informations here. You can test workflows, you can test error workflows when running workflows manually, right? So if you go to our main workflow and force an error manually, it's not gonna work, right? The workflow has to be active and the error should come when the workflow is active to trigger the error workflow, right? But before that, let's go back to our workflow here and let assign the workflow that we created. That is the handle workflow errors, right? Save that. Okay. And let's force an error here in a way that it will fail. It will fail when it's active. So let's go here and let's see. We have the URL and type. Let's go back. Let's change the URL. So instead of this thing here, let's put anything, right? Let's put this .co.abc. So this is a wrong URL that will throw an error in this guy. Let's don't retry on fall and let's just stop workflow. And whenever this guy execute, it will fail and it will trigger our handle errors or flow here, right? Let's save that and let's change this to run in the next minute. Save and let's see how it's gonna be, right? Let's keep this thing open here and let's see the error coming. I hope so. All right, here we have check API periodically, the name of the workflow, we have the error, the connection cannot be established, and then we have the stack, node API error, we have more information. The node with error was this error, this node, right? HTTP request API, and then we have the execution link that will direct us to the execution. So this is how you can handle any kind of error in your workflows, right? You don't need to go specifically in every node, each node, and set up an error that and how to deal with that error. You can just set up a global workflow error. And if you want a specific error handling, so yeah, you need to go to that node and set up properly the error, how you can handle that error. But basically, if you need just something global, that it's a way, right, how to do that. So that's it for today's video, and I hope you have enjoyed. See you next time.